All right, I'm going to turn it over to Linda, who's going to introduce John.
Okay, so y'all, I'd like to introduce you to John O'Hagan, my good friend and my instructor. He's been teaching backgammon as part of the Backgammon Learning Center for over 10 years. His big wins include second in Monte Carlo in 2005. He's won over a dozen American Backgammon Tour events through the years, cashed in countless others. Currently for 2023, he's number one in the ABT points. And I would like to welcome him to our presentation as a presenter. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Linda, and welcome to all of the women of backgammon here. And I hope you can all hear me. And what we're going to talk about tonight is how you decide in backgammon whether to play safe or bold. Okay, so a safe play generally is you leave no shots, you just play safe, and you don't let the opponent hit you if at all possible. On the other hand, when you play bold, what that means, you either maybe hit an opponent's checker loose in your inner board where they have a direct shot back at you, but you have a big gain if it works and the opponent doesn't hit you. That's the kind of decision that you frequently have to make in backgammon. So what we'll talk about tonight first is some of the things that you look for when you're deciding between playing safe and playing bold. And then we'll look at some actual positions where you can apply these concepts and decide should you play safe or bold. And sometimes when the answer is, I think I should play safe or I think I should play bold, there might be more than one safe play. There might be more than one bold play. So you have to decide what is the best safe or bold play. So we will do some of that too. But first we're going to start by listing some of the criteria that you look for. And so let me share my screen here and pull up this. And let me enlarge it, full screen mode. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this.
So we can't see it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, try hitting the share button again in the meeting.
Okay. Okay, oh, then I click here, right?
There we go.
There we go.
Great.
Okay, good. Okay, so Paul McGrill, as some of you might know, wrote a book on backgammon in the 1970s, and at that time that was well before any extreme gammon or any other bot that plays backgammon really well existed. So he wrote a really good book on backgammon, and part of his book focused on safe, bold criteria. Okay, so there are tactical and strategic criteria to consider when you're thinking about playing safe or playing bold. Okay, the tactical criteria are, number one, do you have an anchor in the opponent's inner board? And as most of you probably know, an anchor means you have two or more checkers on a point in the opponent's inner board. And that generally, having an anchor, lets you play bolder than if you do not have an anchor. And the main reason is, say you make a bold play and the opponent hits you back. Well, since you have an anchor in the opponent's board, you cannot be closed out. You will always have that one point to enter on. So compare that to if you don't have an anchor and again you make a bold play and you get hit. Well, you might not ever enter and you might get closed out. Okay. The second tactical criteria is which side has the stronger board. By stronger board, I mean how many points do you have made in your inner board versus how many does the opponent have made in their inner board. And whichever side has more inner board points has an advantage in any hitting contest. So therefore, if you are the one with the stronger inner board, you are more likely to play bold rather than safe. Okay. And then the other criteria are strategic criteria. The first one is which side has more checkers back. So that refers to how many checkers do you and your opponent have back in the other person's home board. So at the beginning of the game, of course, each player has their 2 back checkers in the opponent's inner board. And as one or more players get checkers hit, they might end up with 3 or 4 checkers back, while the other checker may have, I mean, the other player may have escaped one of their 2 back checkers and only have 1 checker back. Okay. So whichever side has more checkers back, that usually is a sign for that player to make a bold play. Whereas if you have fewer checkers back, that's usually a sign that you should play safe. And when you think about it, it makes sense because generally, when you have a lot of checkers back, having 1 more checker sent back is not really that big of a negative. Actually, it might be a positive in that you might be able to make a second anchor in the opponent's inner board. And then the other criteria is who's ahead in the pip count. And this is almost always closely related to the above question, which is which side has more checkers back. Generally, the side with more checkers back is trailing in the pip count. And when you're trailing in the pip count, that's usually a sign to play bold. When you're leading in the pip count, that's usually a sign to play safer. So here's some more comments here. When the side that has fewer checkers back generally wants to disengage and turn the game into a straight race, and therefore should play more safely. The side with more checkers back, on the other hand, usually is trailing in the race, generally plays boldly since the cost of having another checker sent back is not that big of a deal. And backgammon is generally a race. So the strategic criteria tend to be a little bit more important because most games turn into a straight race. And whichever side gets all their back checkers out is usually a favorite to win the game. Okay, and McGrill's strategic criteria was which side has more checkers back. He didn't really focus much on the pip count, but the two are really, as I said, closely related. And generally, when you have a lot of checkers back, you're also trailing in the race. Also, this item here, the more checkers back concept is especially important when you have 3 or more checkers back, with 2 of them forming an anchor and the other one loose somewhere in your opponent's home board. If you make a bold play and the opponent hits, you really haven't lost much, since another checker back might allow you to make a second anchor in the opponent's board. Okay, and then I just talked about how that's closely related to who's ahead in the race. And then finally, once you decide to play safely or boldly, you then have to decide what is the best safe or bold play, since there frequently are multiple ways to play safe or bold. And I will say this, if every criteria suggests playing safe, it's almost always right. If every criteria suggests playing safe, it's almost always right. If most of the criteria suggest playing bold, bold is usually right. If most of them suggest you should play safe, you should generally play safe, but there are exceptions. So, any questions on this so far? I guess not. Okay, so we'll look at some positions here. All right, I clicked on the wrong thing. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so you are white, and you are playing the white checkers. You have a 4-3 to play. Does anybody want to venture a guess on what the right play would be and why?
Make the 20.
Okay, so let's go through the criteria. You don't have an anchor. That suggests safe. You do have a 2-to-1 board advantage. That suggests bold. You have 3 checkers back. The opponent has 0 checkers back. That suggests bold. And you are trailing in the pip count by 36 pips. That suggests bold. So 3 of the 4 criteria suggest a bold play. Now, making the 20 point is a safer play. And the problem with that is that you then, by moving your 2 checkers from the 24 and 23 point up to make an anchor on the 20 point, the opponent can dump checkers behind you safely on their 1 and 2 points. So no, that's not a good play. You should make a bold play, and there are really 2 bold plays here. You can just leave your back checkers alone. They're fine where they are. You can either make your 3 point 7-3 6-3, or you can play 2 checkers down from the midpoint, create 2 builders. And the right play is the latter of those 2, 13-7, 13-9, 13-10. That gives you a lot of point making numbers on your next shake to make like your 3 or your 4 point. And the opponent has a hard time playing safe here, right? So the most of the safe bold criteria suggests bold, and therefore you don't want to make a safe play by making the 20 point here. So the answer is coming up here as soon as the double plus gets done evaluating it. And all of these will either be money games or 0-0 to 11 type scores in a match, which are basically the same thing. Okay, so here's the right play, and here's how you get there. 1 down from the 13-9, 13-10. Second best play is just make your 3 point. Notice though that your distribution after making the 3 points is pretty lousy. You have 1 spare on your 7 point, a big stack on the midpoint. So this play has the advantage of unstacking the midpoint. And making the 20 point is down here a ways. So it would not be a good idea there to play safe there. Okay. Okay, next one. All right. So what does anybody think on this one? White to play a 3-2 here. Any opinions?
I have an opinion. I would go 11-10.
Okay. Yeah, that is a good play. And actually, that's the correct play. So let's run through the 4 criteria here. Do you have an anchor? No. That says safe. Do you have a stronger inner board? No. Opponent's got a 3-point board. You have a 1-point board. That says safe. Third criteria, which side has more checkers back? Black has more checkers back. You have fewer checkers back, so that says safe. And you're ahead in the pip count by 22 pips before the roll. That says safe. So all 4 of the criteria say you should play safe. And here's an example where you do have two safe plays. The 13-10, 13-9 is pretty safe, but it does leave a blot here on your 11 point, which the opponent can hit with the following rolls: 6-4, 6-2, 4-4, and 2-2. But notice that none of the opponent's hitting numbers will also cover the blot on their 3-point. And the extra builder that you create here is worth leaving those few shots, given the fact that even if black hits, you will be shooting at a 3-shot from the roof. So the right play is 2 down from the mid, 13-10, 13-9. And it looks like this, and this is how you get there. Notice that if black doesn't hit, which will happen with the other 30 times out of 36, you now have a ton of really good numbers here. That'll make your 4-point, your 5-point, your 7-point, right? Your, all these are important points. Now, the other safe play is the second best play here is 13-8. Now, this does not give you the extra builder on the 11-point that the correct play does. So it is safer, but it doesn't give you the extra builder either. So it's given the fact that black has a blot over here on their 3-point, you can go ahead and risk the fact that they might hit a blot you might leave on your 11-point. Now, having said that, let's change the position a bit. Let's say that black had this position. Now they don't have a blot in their inner board, and you have the same 3-2 to play. All 4 criteria will still say play safe, but now you want to play super safe. So 13-8 will be right here. And 2 down from the mid, which is this play, is wrong in this case. So you want to look at the details of the position sometimes, and that can change your play because the opponent has a blot in their board or not. So, okay, next one is 3 here. All right, so here you are leading in the race by 10 pips, and you have an advanced anchor. The opponent has 1 checker back. You have a 4-point board. The opponent has a 3-point board. So, and you have a 3-2 to play here. Does anybody have any opinions here on what the right play is?
If no one else does, I'll guess again. I would go from the 7-point to the 4-point to the 2-point.
Okay. Okay, that is the safest play. So let's run through the safe bold criteria here.
It's not the safest play.
Well, okay, yeah, that's true. You can play 5-2, 3-1, but that ruins your board.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Technically, that is safer, but it destroys your board to such a degree that you really can't afford to do that. But assuming you're hitting with the 3, that is the safest play to make. Okay, so let's go through the criteria. Do you have an anchor? Yes. Do you have a stronger board? Yes. That's 2 for bold. Who's got more checkers back? You do. You've got 2 checkers back. The opponent has 1 checker back. And that's the third one for bold. And then the final criteria is the pip count. And you're actually leading 10 pips before the roll. So that says safe. So this is an example where the safe bold criteria, 3 of them say you should play bold, and 1 says you should play safe. And my experience is that when that's the case, you usually follow the, go with the bold play, because it was 3 in favor of the bold, 1 in favor of the safe. And the other thing to notice here is that your 2 back checkers, true, you're ahead in the race by 10 pips, but it's going to be hard for you to transition into a straight race from here because your back checkers are blocked in pretty well with 1s, 2s, 4s, and 6s. So it's not like you can just run out and suddenly it's a race unless you're lucky enough to roll like a double 5s, for example. But that doesn't happen very often. So therefore, if the criteria were 3-1 in favor of safe, then I would do the play that whoever it was that commented said, which is 7-4-2, because that only leaves a blot on the 7 point, which the opponent from the roof can only hit with a 4-3 or a 6-1, which is only 4 numbers out of 36. So that's pretty safe. But the problem with that play is even when it works, say the opponent just doesn't come in, you still have a lot of work to do. You need to somehow fill in your 4 point and get your back checkers out. So that's not so good. So the right play is a pretty bold play, I'd say, which is 13-11 with the 2, 7-4 with the 3. And you get there this way, 3-2. Notice black can now hit with any 4, plus 1-3 will hit, plus 1-6 will hit the blot out on your 7 point, and 1-1 will hit the blot on the midpoint. But the good thing is it's really good when it works. So say the opponent, after your play, let's say the opponent fails to come in, which happens nearly half the time here. Now you're in pretty good shape. You have a 1, a 3, a 7, or a 9 to cover the blot on your 4 point. And then you'll have a strong 5 point board. If the opponent hits you back, it's just too bad, you know. So. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, here's an early game position where the opponent has fully escaped their back checkers, and you have 3 checkers back, and you have a 2-1 to play. Any guess on what's right here?
Double slot. 13, 11, 6-5.
Yes, that is correct. And why is that correct? Well, let's run through the criteria. Do you have an anchor? Yes, that's 1 for bold. Do you have a stronger board? No, but that's a neutral indicator. Both sides have a 1 point board. So it's 1 for bold, 1 neutral. Which side has more checkers back? You do. That's another 1 for bold. Who's ahead in the race? Black's way ahead. So that's another 1 for bold. And so, yeah, you might as well, you don't really care if the 13, 11, 6, 5, you don't really care if the opponent hits with a 2. You might be able to make a second anchor. And if black doesn't hit, then at least you've started your 5 point. And you can cover that next time. So the arrows show you how you make this play. And this is what it looks like after the play. And notice too, there's a couple of weird numbers here where black can't move the back checker, like double 4s, for example. You know, so there are probably a couple other numbers like that too. You know, like if they roll like a 3-1 here, and they make their 5 point or their 7 point, they're not escaping, you know, this back checker. So you can now hit with 2s and 4s, and you've got the blot here on the 5 point alignment of your numbers that include a 2 or a 4 will also cover the blot on your 5 point. So very little downside risk, and there's a noticeable upside there. So. All right, how about this? 5-2 for white.
I would hit and make the anchor 20 point.
You would hit and do what?
Me, I would make the anchor on the 20 point for just in
Okay.
case things go bad.
Okay.
Same
All
with
right.
a hit and make his 5 point.
Okay. So yeah, so we need to run through the criteria here. If you have an anchor, yes, that's bold. Stronger inner board, yes, that's bold. More checkers back, yes, bold. Behind in the pip count, yes. So all four say you should play bold. So the next question is, what's the best bold play? And one thing to look out for is that plays that leave 5 blots, it's usually too dangerous to do that. Just one bad sequence can just kill you. And this is a good example of that. So making the opponent's 20 point, an anchor on the 20 points, better than in quality for you than an anchor on the 22. So you first move the 22 to 20, and then you look around for the best 5. 8 to 3 is a little too loose. It just leaves 5 blots around the board. That's a little too much. So the right play is actually 22 to 20 with the 2, and then 21 to 16 with the 5.
That makes sense.
Notice that play duplicates black's 4s, and the blot count goes down a bit. So, but 8 to 3 is a very close second. Okay.
I have a question. Why not 7 to 2?
Okay.
What?
The reason is that is a safe play, and all 4 of the criteria say you should play bold. So you therefore don't care about safety. You want to try to turn this game around. And so the way to do that looks like this after the correct play. Okay. Now, if black rolls a 4 and hits you, you might get a second anchor in black's home board. If black doesn't roll a 4, they roll something that they can't escape, then you can maybe cover your 7-point, or maybe you can make your 3-point hitting them, or you can make your 4-point. There's just a variety of things that can go well after that play. So that's the reason that you don't play safe there. All right, skip to number 7 here next.
I think we have a question from Val. Val, you can unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, is this something you do like every single play you go through this criteria?
No, because not every play is one where you have to decide between safe and bold. But when you are given that choice of moves, this is one good way to come to the right conclusion. Okay.
Is there a handout that I missed? I apologize for being late. This is Becca. But is there a handout that you gave us with the criteria that you went over that I can refer to with your bold criteria, bold or safe?
Yes, we went over that at the start of the session, and yeah, I'm sure that we can have it sent to you afterwards as well. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't
John,
mean
if
to
you
interrupt.
allow it, I'm happy to send it out after
Okay.
the session's
Yeah.
over.
Thank
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks,
Sure.
Becca.
Hey,
All right.
April or John, you going to do the PowerPoint or other something else?
No, we already did it. So
Okay. No. I know that. I mean, to send out. Do you want to send out the PowerPoint?
no, April just said that she would
I'll
send.
take care of it, Linda.
Do you have a copy of it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if not, April, I can email it to you. Okay, so here you are white. You have a checker on the roof. You have a 4-1 to play. Any guesses on what's right here?
6 to 2 and then 2 to 1.
Hit 2.
Well, no, you
Hit
have
'em up.
one checker on the roof. You have to enter with the 1, and then you have a 4 to play.
Hit with the 4.
Oh, hit with the 4. Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Are you going to hit the blot on your 4-point or on your 2-point?
4-point.
4-point. Okay. All right. So let's go through the criteria here. You have an anchor that says bold. The opponent's got a 3-point board. You have a 2-point board. So the opponent has a stronger board. So that says safe. So far it's 1 for bold, 1 for safe. Both sides have 3 checkers back. So that's a neutral indicator. And the pip count is really close. So that's another neutral indicator. So whenever that's the case where the indicators are sort of tied as far as should you play safe or should you play bold, I think you then want to ask yourself, what's the play the opponent does not want you to make? That's usually the play you should make. So here the problem with entering with the 1 and then playing 8-4 or 6-2 is you are leaving yourself with a position that you don't really want, which is 3 checkers on the opponent's 1 point or on the 24 point. That's usually a bad formation. So
What about coming in on the 1, John, and then progressing or advancing to the 20? The 20.
yeah, that is the correct play. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it looks like this is how you get there. And notice that black has some numbers which will actually make us 5-point on your head. 6-3, double threes, double fours. But that's not very many numbers. And those are good shots for black anyway. And notice that black also on your side of the board, they can use 6s and 3s over here too, right? To make the 18 or the 21 point. So there's some duplication of black's 3s and 6s there. So yeah, the right play is the safer play, just bar to 20 and you really want to avoid that 3 checkers on the 24 formation. That's a weak formation to have.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And this is probably the wrong play, but the gambler in me wants to hit on the 7 and the 4.
Well, no, see, you have a checker on the roof.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So you have to enter with the 1, and then you have
That's
a 4.
right. Okay. Sorry.
If you had the whole roll to play, I think you're probably right. Okay, but you don't. So you have to enter with the 1, then you have to play a 4 somewhere. All right. Next one is number 8.
It's muted.
All right, so here you have a 6-4 to play as white. Any guesses here on what's right?
Maybe the 8-2, 8-2, 6-2, or no, I'm just guessing on that one.
Okay. All right. So let's go through the
4 point. Sorry.
Beg your pardon?
The 10 and the 8 to the 4 point.
Okay, that's possible. It's not the right play.
I have I want to venture a guess. I would hit on the 11 and move to the 20. I can't read those numbers. Move to the that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Right.
So
I would make the 9-point twice.
yeah, the correct play is to make the 9-point twice. So the reason has to do with, again, the safe bold criteria. You don't have an anchor. That says safe. Both sides just have a 1-point board, so that's a neutral indicator. You're ahead in the race by 13 pips, and you have 1 checker back. The opponent's got 2 checkers back, so that's 3 of the 4 criteria say you should play safe. And those first 2 suggestions of making your 2-point or your 4-point, both of those plays have the disadvantage of leaving the blot on the 15-point there hittable with a double shot by black. 3s and 4s will hit, which makes black a favorite to roll a 3 or 4, and they'll probably hit you. So and the problem with hitting with the 4, 15 to 11, and then coming out is that virtually anything that enters will let black enter and hit somewhere. So if you just make the 9-point twice, Black will only have a few ways to hit the blot on your 10-point here, and you'll be in good shape if black doesn't hit. Yeah.
Question. Why not take the 15 to the 9 remove your blot there and then progress from the 24 to the 20?
Sure.
Is that wrong with the pip count?
Okay. So, all right. So first of all, here's the correct play. And then the play you just asked about is here. The problem with that is if black is a good player, they will hit you with any 1, 3, 4, 8, or 9. They will hit the blot on their 5-point. So therefore, your builders won't do you any good because you're going to be on the bar and you will have to use half of your next roll to re-enter, and you won't be able to make a point, right? That is, unless you roll like a double something, then you can enter and make a point. And also, notice that black will have combinations of 1s, 3s, and 4s to actually make the 5-point on your head. And that's 9 numbers. Will actually out of 36. So 25% of the time, they'll make that point, and then you'll be on the bar. So you don't want to, generally, if you have a decent alternative, whenever you move up into like the opponent's 5-point, if he has builders from like 3 different points aiming at you, it's usually too dangerous. There are a lot of exceptions, but this is not one of them. Okay, since you have such a good alternative, just do this. Most of the time, black on their next shake will probably make a point over there, 3, 4, 5, 7-point, or they might cover their 9-point. But then on your next shake, virtually every number will be good. You'll be able to escape all the way with 6, 5, or virtually everything else will make the 4, the 3, 4, 5, or 7-point. So.
Thank you.
All right. Sure. All right, 6-5 for white here.
I'd hit.
Okay.
Hit with the 5 and bring the 6.
So I would say this is a bold move,
Yeah, we got an anchor.
and I would put the 13 to the 8,
Okay.
and then maybe the 21 to the 10.
Okay. So let's run through the safe bold criteria. You have an anchor, that's bold. You have a 3-point board versus a 1-point board for the opponent, that's bold. You have 3 checkers back versus 1 checker back, that's bold. And you're behind quite a bit in the race. That's 4 for bold, 0 for safe. So you should make a bold play, and generally hitting is the bold play here. So you're definitely hitting 8 to 3 with the 5. Then you have a 6 to play. And actually, you want to put pressure on black's blot on black's 11-point. So you come out with the 6 here, 21-15. That's the best play.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get the half bowl moving the 8 to the 3-point, but
Yeah.
why not move the 11 to the 5 point
Yeah.
so you can anchor?
Yeah. Okay, that play has the advantage of giving you more ways to cover if black doesn't hit, but not that many more. Okay, here you can cover with any 2 or 3, plus 6, 4, and 5, 5, and 6, 6 from here. But with this play, you cover with any 3, plus 6, 2, 4, 4, 2, 2, 6, 4, and 6, 6. But you can also now hit out here with any 1, plus you can hit with a 5 too.
And you duplicate that with 3s so that if he does try to hit from the 12, he loses his he no longer has an anchor there and no building.
Yeah. So if you're not really concerned about black hitting you from here with a 3, if he rolls a 3 something, he's going to hit the blot here, because if he hits here 3 to 10, he's breaking the midpoint, leaving a blot there, and leaving a blot 6 away from your anchor. So anything that enters, so the other numbers of 6, you can enter and hit back. So so
What
this
if he
just
rolled a 3?
the main reason that this play is better than this play is that it puts more pressure on this checker. This play has the advantage of giving you more ways to cover, but it's not that many more. But this way, you have a direct shot at hitting this other blot if black, say, fails to come in or something, or comes in and can't safety that. Okay. Or say black rolls like 3-2 from the bar here. They will play hitting with the 3, and with the 2, they'll probably play 11 to 9, and now you can hit with anything that enters where the other number's a 5. Okay. So the advantage of this play is, only it gives you a few more ways to cover, but you still have a lot of ways to cover after this play. So this play is a little bit better all in all. So, all right, let's go number 12 next. By the way, I don't know if any of you have been watching this, but currently there's what's called the UBC tournament going on between 2 of the world's very best players, Mochi from Japan and Sander Lylov from Denmark. And they are playing tomorrow 4 matches. And whoever gets the best result from those 4 matches will win. And currently it's tied going into tomorrow's 4 matches. And you can find it on YouTube. And if you go to YouTube and type in Backgammon Galaxy or Mochi versus Sander or something like that, it'll probably pop up for you. But it starts at 7 a.m. Eastern because they're playing over there in Copenhagen. So it's a big time difference. So anyway, wanted to mention that. Okay, 6-4 for white here.
Will they post that tournament somewhere? I mean, will it be on YouTube after the fact where we can watch?
Yes, that's a good question. Yes, if you are busy, you can't watch it at that exact time when it's on live. You can always access it later and just watch it then. And they have a very good commentator commentating on all the moves as well.
Awesome.
I'll post the link in the chat.
What's that?
I'll post the link to the Backgammon Galaxy
okay.
YouTube channel in the chat. And yeah, you can go, day 1 and day 2 are there, and you can go ahead and, you know, if you can't catch day 3 live, go ahead and you can, it'll be there on the channel. That's right. Yeah. So, and these are 2 of the very best players in the world. So you can certainly learn a lot from them. All right. 6-4 for white here. What looks good?
8-2 and 13 to 9.
Yeah.
No, that's too. Or is it better to do 22 to the to the 18?
Okay. First of all, let's run through the criteria. Anchor, yes, that's bold. Stronger board, yes, that's bold. More checkers back, yes, that's bold. You're a little bit behind in the race, so that's kind of a minor thing for bold. So it's basically still 4-0 in favor of bold. So you do want to make a bold play, and 8-2 is definitely the right 6. And now with the 4, the best play is 22-18 with the 4 rather than 13-9. And the reason for that is that say if everything works, if black fails to come in, you'll be able to cover with 6s and 3s. You'll be able to make the better anchor with a 4. And you are keeping yourself from getting blocked in when you roll really poorly. Like if you roll a series of 5s, 3s, 2s, and 1s, you run out of good moves on your side of the board, you'll still have this checker out here on the 18 point. So that is correct. 12, 14. And they will be playing 4 matches tomorrow, and they take like a half-hour break in between each match. So, all right, here you are white, 3-2 to play.
Hit with the 3 and bring the 2 down to the 11?
Yes, that is correct. So let's run through the criteria here. They'll be a little mixed in this case. Do you have an anchor? No, that says safe. Do you have a stronger board? Yes, that says bold. And not only is your board stronger, but black has a blot on their 5 point. So that's like a further inducement to play bold. Number of checkers back, that's a neutral indicator. You have 1 checker back, so does black. Finally, the race is really close. That's kind of a neutral indicator. So the right play is to hit 6-3 and play 13-11 with the 2. And the main reason for that is that you're forcing black to use half of their roll to re-enter. And they therefore only have about 1/3 of all their numbers will enter and cover the blot on their 5 point. About 1/3. I think it's actually 13 numbers will actually do it. So it's a little over 1/3, 13 out of 36. However, if you don't hit with the 3, black can cover the 5 point with any 1, 3, or 8, which is 24 numbers out of 36. That's a big swing, big difference. Okay. So once you decide to hit with the 3, you then have to decide what's the right play with the 2. And the right play, the more you play backgammon, you'll shy away from restacking up, making these huge stacks on like the midpoint or the 6 point if there's a reasonable alternative. So what a lot of players would do here is this play. They would hit, and then they would just stack it up 15-13. But that creates 6 checkers on the midpoint. And it's early in the game, so you can afford to be a little loose and just leave some blots around, So the gain is worth the risk. Okay, 14, 15, 16, 18. Okay. All right, so here you are white, 2-1 to play. Any guesses here?
I would hit on the 7.
Mm-hmm.
And it's at 20, 21, 22. And move up to the 22.
Okay.
I
Okay.
second that.
Okay. So let's go through the criteria. Do you have an anchor? No, that's safe. Who's got the stronger board? Black does, so that's safe. Who's got more checkers back? Black does. That's safe. Who's ahead in the race? We are, so that's safe. So all 4 of the criteria say you should play safe. And generally, there are very few exceptions where you ignore that. And this is not one of them. So you just play safe, 16-13. You only have 1 checker back. And you can always roll well. You can roll a good double and make some good points on your side, or a 6-1, or a 3-1, or a 4-2, or a 5-3, or 6-4, and make some points. So, on the other hand, you might roll poorly, and you might leave a direct shot somewhere. Okay, well, even then the opponent has to hit, and then they have to win from there. So now's the time to play safe.
I have one question with that though.
Yeah.
My concern is, what if they anchor on the 7 point?
Yeah. If they anchor, then you will still be a little ahead in the race. And they're actually pretty likely to roll a 5 or a 6, by the way. But you can live with that. I mean, there are lots of games where you start, the opponent has a stronger board and makes an anchor, an advanced anchor in your board, or makes an anchor on your 18 point, on your 7 point. And then you eventually escape your back checker and you're ahead in the race and you roll some good numbers and you just win the race. So like I said, I would emphasize that if all 4 of the criteria, do you have an anchor? Who's got the stronger board? Who's got fewer checkers back? Who's ahead in the pip count? If all 4 of those say play safe, it's almost always right to follow that advice and just play safe. Okay, 15, 16, and 18. All right, here you have a 5-1 to play.
Okay, so if you want to play bold, I would go 6 to 1, 9 to 8.
Okay. All right, so let's go through the criteria here. You have an anchor, that's bold. Both sides have a 1-point board, so that's a neutral indicator, neither safe nor bold. You have 2 checkers back, the opponent's got 1 back, that's leans towards bold. And the pip count is basically tied, so that's kind of a neutral indicator. This is an example, though, where a sort of a different criteria comes into play, and that is if you're doing all right in terms of winning the game or losing the game, if you're like some kind of a favorite in the game, you generally can play conservatively. Whereas if you're losing the game, you generally want to play boldly. And believe it or not, the right play here is the play that I would play when I first learned the game, which is stack 2 checkers on the 8 point, 13-8, 9-8. But it's really close. And second best play is the play you mentioned there, 9-8, 6 to 1. And the play I would have made, and most players I think would make over the board, is this play, 13-8, 6-5. But notice that if you make this play, it looks like this after the play. If the opponent rolls a 4 or an 8, true, you have an anchor, but having a third checker back is just a negative for you in terms of the race. And you fall way behind in the race. And the back checker, extra back checker, doesn't really do you any good. So this is kind of a weird one. But I just wanted to show you one where, there are some weird things going on. And this is a weird one. $16, $18. All right, 5-5 from the roof. You have 2 checkers on the bar, so your first 2 are forced, bar to 20 twice. Now you have 2 more after that, 2 more 5s. What are the opinions here of the group?
After you bring the 2 in, would you bring the 8s down to make your point, make your 3 point?
Yes.
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. So when you're doing the safe bold criteria here, since the first 2 5s are forced, you will have an anchor. Okay, so that's 1 for bold. You have a stronger board, that's bold. You have more checkers back, that's bold. You're way behind in the race, that's bold. So absolutely, bar to 20 twice and then 8 to 3 twice. And that way you strengthen your board. You don't really care if black hits you with a 4 or a 1 because notice the position after the correct play. If one or both of these checkers gets hit, you'll probably roll a 3 or a 1 and make a second anchor, right? Which will cause black more problems as black's trying to bring his position home. So yeah, very good. Enter both and then make the 3 point. Okay, 18. We won't do all of these, of course, but you know, I can keep going as long as you all would like me to.
Loving it. It's great.
What was that?
Loving it. It's great. Please keep
Oh, okay.
going.
All right. Double 1s for white here.
6 to 2.
Okay. And any other opinions?
6 to 5 with 2, with 3, and hit with the 2.
Okay. Okay. So let's run through the criteria. You have no anchor. That's safe. Black's got a 4-point board. You have a 1-point board. That's safe big time. You have 0 checkers back. Black has 1 back. That's safe. And you're a bit ahead in the race, so that's safe.
Rather than coming down with 3 from the 6, why not just move 2 from the 6 and then the 8 to the 7 after you hit on the 1, so that gives you another builder to get him.
Okay. Well, again, the vote on the safe bold criteria is 4-0 in favor of safe. So therefore, you don't want to leave a 1 shot from the roof for the opponent to hit you. So you just play 6-2.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a pretty play, but it is safe. And it's for those of you who don't have extreme gammon, it always shows you what the right play is. And like here, 6-2, it gives you an equity number. It shows you the winning chances after each play. And then it shows you the second best play is 6-5 3 times and then 2-1. And it shows you the negative 0.126. It means that's the amount you would lose. So if you were playing somebody for example, for $1 a point, and you made that play, that'll cost you 0.126 of a dollar, 12.6 cents. Okay, that's what that number means. So you want to avoid these big mistakes like that. So yeah, just play safe, 6-2. It's not pretty, but it's the right play by quite a bit. Oops. Erase these. Okay, 4-1 for white here. You are white.
$13 to 8.
Okay. So you don't have an anchor. That says safe. You actually have a stronger board, and black has 2 blots in their inner board and 2 more in their outer board. So that actually says bold. And you have no checkers back. That's safe. You're well ahead in the race, so that's safe. So most of them say safe. But because black has these 2 blots in their inner board, you can actually make kind of a bold play here. The right play is 13-9-8-7. And the reason is Black only has a handful of numbers that will enter and hit, and they have to use their entire roll to enter and hit, so they can't cover any of their blots. So therefore, if they roll like a 5-2 or a 4-2 or a 4-3 or a 4-5, they can hit, but then you can have a real good time picking up all these blots here. So you'll get a lot of extra gammons. And also, the other way this play can work for you, let's say black fails to come in. They roll like a 3-2 or a 6-3 or something like that. Now you've started your 7-point, which is a good landing spot for their checkers on the midpoint, right? And also the, also the 9-point. So it's always, when the opponent has blots in their inner board, that's a signal that, you aren't too concerned if black does hit you, especially here, Okay, 20, 21. All right, 6-6 for white here. Good shot.
How about 13-7 for 2 and 8-2 for 2?
8-2 twice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you're not hitting either of black's blots. So
You gotta hit.
I have
what was that?
2020.
2016 and 13-7 with 2.
Okay.
And then 16 to 10.
16-10 hitting along the way. Yeah, and then 13-7 twice. Yeah, that's a really good play.
Can I suggest one? I would do 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. Hit on the 16 and move both of the 8s to the 2-point.
Okay. Okay. All right. The right play is has not been mentioned yet, and that is 13-1 twice. And that really makes black really has to enter and roll something good, or it's just really bad for black, because you can pick up this other blot with any 6 or 8.
And if he rolls a 4, he's going to use it to come in instead of cover. So that's great.
Right. And the play that was mentioned here, 22 to 16 to 10, and then 8-2 twice, is a close second. It's only a small mistake. So there are a handful of plays here that are close. This one is kind of hard to find over the board sometimes, but this one is right by a little bit. But these two of those other plays are very reasonable as well. But let's go through the criteria. Okay, you don't have an anchor, so that's safe, I guess. You do have a much stronger board. That's bold. You are ahead in the race, so that's safe. You have more checkers back. That's bold. But here in this position, the safe bold criteria might make it sound like it's a toss-up. Should you play safe or not? Well, obviously you should hit somewhere. Okay. And a lot of you are saying hit on the 16, go to the 10 and make the 2-point. That's a very reasonable play. That's a close second. So everybody makes mistakes. Even these two great players I mentioned that will be playing tomorrow, they occasionally make a bad mistake. Very seldom, but they do occasionally. But a lot of we all make a lot of these small little mistakes because they're really hard to figure out sometimes.
Is this a 5-point match or a 7-point match? I didn't ask earlier.
Generally, it's a money game, or it's 0-0 to 9 or 0-0 to 11, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And 0-0 to 9 or 0-0 to 11 is just like a money game for all practical purposes. So, all right, 4-1 for white here.
I don't know if it's right, but I would probably move 24 to 20 and 22 to 21.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
Or 6.
All right. That's not the right play. Let's go through the criteria. You have no anchor, that says safe. You have a stronger board, that's bold. You have more checkers back, that's bold. The pip count is basically super close, so that's kind of a neutral indicator. So the most of the criteria point a little towards bold. And notice that if you give black their entire roll, they have a lot of good numbers available with a builder on the 9 point and a spare on the 8 point, spares on the 6 point. If you run through all of their numbers, virtually every number will make a good point somewhere, or at least cover the 9 point. So you really want to take away half of black's roll here. So even though you have no direct covers, the right play is 6-1 hitting.
6-1.
Yeah. And black doesn't want you to hit any of their checkers. They want their whole roll. And now you hit them, and 25% of the time, here's what it looks like. They will roll something like 6-3 or 5-5 or 5-3 or something like that. And now you're on roll. Okay. But if you give them their entire roll and you do this play, it's hard to find a bad number for black, right? Virtually everything will make their 3, 4, 5, 7 point or cover their 9 point. Some of them are really strong, like 4-4, 3-3, 2-2, So you really want to take away half their roll here. Okay. Oops. All right. Similar position, right? Actually, it's probably the same position, except now you have a 5-4 to play.
I think I would just be safe and run from the 22 to the 13.
Okay. Yeah, here again, just like in the previous position, you really want to take away half of black's roll. So the right play is 6-1 hitting, and then 24 to 20. Now you are really putting a lot of pressure on black to cover that blot on their 9 point, because if they don't, you'll be able to hit it with a 6 or a 4 next time.
John, why not 13 to 9 with the second part?
Well, that's a good question.
Still got a direct shot at.
Yeah, I think it's because you're putting so much pressure on the blot on black's 9 point by coming up. You will have 2 checkers in direct range of the blot on black's 9 point. Plus, you're starting the opponent's 20 point, which is a really good anchor to have if later on you roll a 2 or something and make that point. So the having said that, though, the builder on the 9 point is useful. Gives you more ways to cover. Gives you more ways to make your 4 point or your 7 point. So it's actually super close, 0.008. So that's basically a toss-up, actually. Okay.
Great. Should we just do 1 or 2 more, John?
Okay.
And it's getting to be almost 8:30 here Central Time.
Can we wait for a few people if they want to stay, April, or do you need to close it down? April?
Oh, I was on mute. It's really up to John. I don't know how late John wants to stay. I don't want people to feel obligated, like they have to stay. I know it gets kind of late.
Yeah, okay,
depending
we'll
on where
do
you live.
we can do like 2 or 3 more, and then I kind of need to stop. Yeah. So here's one. You're white. 4-1 to play.
I almost think the 14 to the 13 and the 24 to the 20.
Yes, that is correct. So why is that correct? Well, all the criteria point towards safe. You don't have an anchor. Black has a stronger, or actually you have a stronger board that actually leans towards bold. You have 1 checker back, and you're ahead in the pip count. And so 3 of the 4 criteria say safe. And when that's the case, usually you follow that majority opinion and just play safe. And notice that with the correct play, that white or blacks ones are somewhat duplicated in that they can hit loose or they can change their anchor from the 21 to the 20 point. So, but the main thing is you're ahead in the race, and this starts your move towards safetying this guy. Hopefully next time, hopefully black doesn't hit, and you can move this guy to safety next time. Okay. Okay, 5-1 for white here from the roof.
Would you dare to come in on the 5 and then, I mean, on the 20, come bear in with your 5, and then with the 1 you do 6 to 5 and that's a lot of blots. I know.
Yeah, that is a big play. So let's run through the safe bold criteria here. You don't currently have an anchor. And with the play you mentioned, you also will not have an anchor. So that's one for safe. The black has a 3-point board. You have a 1-point board. That says safe. You have more checkers back. That says bold. And you are well behind in the pip count. That says bold. So the safe bold criteria are kind of mixed here. It's not one of the McGrill safe bold criteria, but let me call your attention to the fact here you do own the cube. And the reason I mention that is when you own the cube, you don't have to make as many all or nothing plays as your suggested play kind of is. There's just a ton of good double hitting numbers for black after that play. And you might just end up with a real mess with like 3 checkers closed out or maybe 4 checkers back anchored on the opponent's 1 point. So therefore, since you're outboarded 3-1, you really need an anchor here. So make the 24 point with the 1. Then with the 5, unstacking the mid looks right, 13 to 8. That leaves a 4 shot. You could also play 9 to 4. That leaves a 2 shot. But that doesn't unstack the mid. So I play 13 to 8 here with the 5 after entering with the 1. And like I said, it's not really part of the things we talked about in this lesson, but frequently when you own the cube, you get to play the game to the end. And sometimes in case like this, it is important to take a definite anchor. Now, having said that, your play is pretty close. Only a small mistake, 0.023. And at certain scores in a match, say you're losing a lot in the match. Say you're losing like 7-0 in a 9-point match. Well, then you can afford to be a little more aggressive, and then your play would probably be correct. Okay. All right, let's do one more here.
Make it a really tricky one, John.
Well, I'm not sure which one if this is a tricky one or not. Yeah, this one's pretty tricky. All right, 5-1 for white.
Maybe 6-1, 10-9. I'm sorry. Yes, 6-1, 10-9.
Okay.
5 points.
I say make the 5.2.
Make the 5 points another option. Okay, so let's go through the criteria here. No anchor, that says safe. Weaker home board, that says safe. Fewer checkers back, that says safe. A little ahead in the race, that says safe. So it's 4-0 in favor of safe. Therefore, if you have a reasonable looking safe play, you should do it. And here you do. So 13-8, 10-9. No shots. Okay. And the second best play is to make the 5 point. The 5 point is a really valuable point, but there's a big downside here. Black can hit you here with any 6 plus 4-2 plus 5-3. And you lose a ton of ground in the race when this checker goes back to the roof, right? And the gain is not quite worth it. Now there are a lot of sequences where black doesn't hit you. Then you're glad you made this play. But it's a question of risk versus gain. And here, the gain is not quite enough to justify the risk. So the right play is this. You still have a lot of good numbers available to you next time. Always remember when you have a checker or 2 checkers on the 9 point, along with builders on the 8 and the 6 point, if you run through all of your possible numbers, the vast majority of them will make a good point somewhere.
If
So
it had been at all on this particular roll, if the cube was already like on 2 or even 4, would any difference in the way you played it?
I don't think it would make a difference here. No, we can check it though. Let's say that you own the cube here. Yeah, it's still the same, listing of 13-8, 10-9. Now let's say if the opponent owned the cube. It's kind of weird that the opponent would own a cube in this position, but let's say they did. It's still right, yeah. So
and what if the cube was on 4, John? If the cube was on 4, wouldn't that be a huge differential?
Well, actually, if in theory, it doesn't matter if the cube's on 2, 4, or 16, or 32, or whatever. The right play is still the right play. So if the cube's on 4, it's still the right play.
Okay, thanks.
It's just that you will gain or lose 4 points, if you win or lose the game. Well, the other play, you'll gain or lose 2 points if you win or lose the game. So, okay. So,
John, thank you very much. This is really valuable. We really appreciate it. It was really fun. I liked the quiz factor, and we appreciate you generously sharing your time with us.
Yeah, you are very welcome, and thank you for all of your help earlier today and helping me on some of the technical issues because I'm not real smart at that stuff. So.
Oh, you're great. It's fine. It's fine. John not only is an expert player, but he generously gives his time. You'll see him commentating at tournaments. He's somebody that will stop and teach you things if you ask. And you're just so generous to come to the Women of Backgammon. We really appreciate it. John does give lessons too. So if you want more of this, you certainly can contact him for lessons.
Yes.
And I will be sending out the sheet, the bold safe criteria
okay.
PDF to
Very
the group.
good.
So thank you everybody for coming. We really appreciate it. It was a great session. I hope that you have a great holiday season, and hope to see you next time.
Yes. Happy holidays to everybody.
Thank you, John.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it
so
very
much.
much.
Happy holidays. Thanks,
Okay.
April.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
April, can you hear
I'll
me?
hang on. Yep.
Yep.
hang out.
I'm happy to post the criteria, and I found it online, but I'd rather have John's specific, bold, safe, criteria sheet. If I'm happy to post it in our group on Facebook.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll send it to you. I think you have your email, Becca.
Or just text it to me. Either way, take a picture. Thank you so much, you guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks, April.
Thank you. Thanks, Linda.